On This Week in Patriots Baseball, a podcast, the regular season is officially in the books. We'll break down the Pats' hard-fought 6-5 win versus the Wood Ducks. Patriots slugger and, would you believe, closer, Austin Morgan? He stops by the show to dissect his game-changing performance in the finale. Postseason baseball is in the air. We'll hear from manager Keith Fischer for a preview. All that and more, it's the road to Povich. And it starts right here with a special postseason preview edition of This Week in Patriots Baseball, a podcast. Here we go. Another episode of This Week in Patriots Baseball, a podcast. I am your host, Chad Kurz. We've got an action-packed show planned for you this evening. Patriots coming off their 17th, that's right, 17th, a record 17th regular season win, 6-5 over the Wood Ducks, clinching the number 2 seed for the postseason tournament. Here to break it down, I'm joined by Patriots manager Keith Fischer. Keith, as always, welcome to the show. Good to have you.
A lot to talk about tonight, Chad. I'm excited to be here.
All right, well, let's get into it. Right off the top, the big number that everybody's excited about. We knew we were going to set a record once we cleared unlucky number 13. We got to 14 wins. We got all the way up to 17 wins on the season, just from a historical standpoint. Talk to us about that number, and ironically, your jersey number. There's some nice symbolism there as well.
Yeah, that's right. I hadn't thought about that, but no, it actually felt really, really good all day today. Just kind of, realizing that we've had such a successful season. Talked to Sammy at the end of the game last night. Kind of, who would have thunk it that we would be in this position? But really, everything that we talked about preseason. About, hey, if this could happen, if this could happen, this piece falls into place. We get a little lucky here. If all of those things can come together, we could have a really successful season. And it was, really almost, down to everything that we talked about preseason. All of those things have fallen into place. And here we are at 17 wins. And it feels pretty amazing that in our 21st season, we're really, feel like we're at the top of our game here. And the team has been so successful. So it's been a fantastic year.
Fantastic year indeed, and still a lot more out there to play for. We'll get to a little bit of a postseason preview later in the podcast, but first let's go deep on this game again. Win number 17 clinches the number 2 seed for us, and it was interesting. It was not a winner take all, but there were implications to this final game against the Wood Ducks. The winner would be the 2 seed, the loser would be the 3 seed, and obviously that has implications as you go into the tournament. What was your approach going into the game and almost treating it like a playoff game in and of itself?
Yeah, there was a lot of talk going into the game. Obviously, we played last night on Monday. The playoffs, could have potentially started as early as Saturday morning if we were gonna, if we happened to lose last night. So we potentially were going to have to come back and wanted to be certainly at full strength, most importantly for the playoffs, no matter who we were going to play. But we certainly wanted to, win that game last night to secure that number 2 seed, get us an extra day of rest to play on Sunday, and get that 17th win of the regular season, which was really great. So, we certainly wanted to win last night. We did not want to overextend really anybody, including Connor. We did remove him after 5 innings and 60 pitches. he felt, and we both, he felt at that time that it was a good time to come out of the game in order to come full strength at the weekend. So we made the move when we did, really prioritizing the playoffs, I think, but, really obviously asking some other players to really step up last night. And we got those performances in spades, both from Nick and obviously from Austin.
So you mentioned Connor. I mean, you almost come to expect it from him, but another really impressive outing. He kept the Wood Ducks really off balance throughout the 5 innings of his outing. What'd you see from Connor? And certainly had to be impressed as a postseason tune-up of sorts.
Yeah, I mean, what can you really say about what he did out there last night? Obviously, what he's done all season, but the last night again against a very good hitting team in the Wood Ducks, to record 12 out of your 15 outs that you're out there for as punch outs is kind of just something you do in a video game, not that you're able to do on the real field. So, he's obviously just such a big weapon for us. And last night, he really kind of put that all out on display. 61 pitches through 5 innings, 12 strikeouts, 1 hit, no walks, no runs. Just absolute domination. So we'll keep him fresh. We'll try not to overuse him on a weekly basis, but he's going to be a big piece of our puzzle moving forward.
And offensively, as has been the case throughout the season, you really didn't know where the hits were going to come from, but they came from up and down the lineup. Sean McEnheimer, Jeff Gregorio, Pete Mulholland, Austin Morgan, all with big hits. Talk about that versatility and the danger up and down the lineup, 1 through 9 and beyond. Really no easy outs with this Patriots lineup.
Yeah, certainly I don't remember exactly what our team batting average was last year, but it was not 295, which is what it was for the regular season here this year. We have, it seems like half the team is hitting over 300, and, everybody else is contributing as well. So offensively, we've just had so much depth, and we really could talk about our depth in all phases of the game, defensively and pitching as well, where, not only our eyes, but the numbers also reflect just vast improvements all across the board. So, we've been a dangerous team this year. We've put up a good amount of runs, and we've been able to get hits when we need them. So, we're going to continue grinding and having good at-bats, and hopefully that'll serve us well in the playoffs.
It was kind of a tricky situation with the bats last night because we'd had a number of rainouts coming into the game, so you could say maybe there was a potential for some rust. And then the Wood Ducks starting pitcher, maybe was touching 70, if that's being generous, for the first couple innings. And then they bring in a reliever who's just throwing straight gas. I got to imagine it could have been tough for guys to find their rhythm, find their timing, especially kind of getting back into the groove ahead of the postseason. And yet, guys really buckled down and put a lot of good swings on balls, hit a lot of hard balls to the fence, a couple from Sean McEnheimer, back through the box, and good line drives from others. That's got to be a nice vote of confidence offensively going into the playoffs.
Yeah, sometimes the guys who are throwing softer keep you off balance a little bit more and are actually tend to be tougher to hit. It was really great to see, that our guys were able to really string some hits together against their flamethrower when he came in, and we actually scored our first 2 runs against them. So, I don't think that was part of their game plan to give up runs during the few innings that he was going to be in the game. So that turned out to be really important. Obviously, in what turned out to be a 1-run game. So, just a big credit to everybody in the lineup last night for coming through.
And, there were some good swings, and then there were some fortuitous swings. But a big hit that's easy to overlook, Pete Mulholland, it was very close to even hitting it off the bounce. But he had a big, I think it was a 2 RBI single that I think we were down, and that put us back into the lead. That was a big turning point offensively in the game, and again, a nice piece of hitting from Pete.
Yeah, I had a great feeling about Pete in that spot, about him coming through right there, and when he was able to sneak that ball through the right side, I wasn't surprised at all. And that was obviously a big hit for us. Pete's been a big lift for us, obviously defensively, and he can be a big addition to our lineup as well.
All right. Well, so there was a little bit of back and forth there in the middle innings, but getting to the ninth, there was all of a sudden some drama. It's never easy with the Patriots. We have to make it interesting, and so had a lead going into the ninth. They chiseled away at it a little bit. Our bullpen game plan didn't quite line up the way we wanted to. Sammy maybe tweaked something a little bit in his warm up before the ninth inning, and you were faced with an interesting and unusual decision there of how to close the door in the ninth. Take us through from the manager's perspective how you approach that.
Yeah, yep. Sammy was going to be the first option there to actually start the ninth. Like you mentioned, he felt something in the bullpen toward the end of his bullpen, which made us have to change that direction. Obviously, the options there to consider were Austin and Mike. Certainly, obviously Will's there as well, but with his current status with his elbow, we thought we would kind of just leave him as unavailable and not an option for last night. So really that left us with choosing between, Austin and Mike to be ready to go. At that point, we thought we would let Nick go ahead and try to finish it. Thought pattern there was really that if we were going to get to a spot where we were going to have to bring in a reliever, if Nick wasn't going to be able to finish the inning against a good hitting team and against the heart of their lineup, wanted to go with Austin, who gave us a little bit of a better chance of swings and misses, basically. Obviously, we were a little bit limited on defense last night, missing some key pieces of our infield. Patrick wasn't there, Coliani wasn't there, Hardy wasn't there, Sella wasn't there. So that's a lot of defense that we just didn't have there. And Mike relies on letting guys put the ball in play and making our defense do the work. So I thought maybe we had a little bit of better chance if somebody had to come in in a game with a situation where the game was on the line. And it worked out. I mean, Austin came in. He came in throwing, I thought, with a lot of velocity last night, probably as hard as I've seen him throw for us. I know it was only his third or fourth appearance of the year. But he came in. He was able to throw strikes. And he got 3 big strikeouts and was able to close the door. I mean, you really can't say enough about what he did last night. Obviously, he had a huge night at the plate as well. But that was a lot of guts to come in that spot. I believe the tying run was at the plate at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Came in, and again, he was able to get 3 big strikeouts right in the heart of their lineup there. So I think it paid off there in that case, and I was just real happy to be celebrating with the boys after the game.
That's really something, in probably the highest leverage situation in the entire season to that point, handing the ball to a guy that had pitched 3 innings the entire season, and he rewards that confidence, as you mentioned, striking out the side, getting out of a jam, and here we are sitting with the number 2 seed and an extra day off going into the postseason. It's job well done all the way around. Well, let's hear from Austin and get his take on it. He's kind enough to join us on This Week in Patriots Baseball podcast. And Austin, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Glad to be here. First time.
You've heard us singing your praises here, but yeah, let's get your perspective on the end of that game, and then maybe we'll work our way backwards into some of your offensive heroics. But yeah, certainly no tougher situation than coming into the game there in the ninth, and as Keith mentioned, tying run was at the plate. What was your approach in that moment as Keith called your number and handed you the ball?
Well, I felt good. Felt good in the bullpen. Felt like I was throwing pretty hard, and if it came to me, I was ready to go. My entire drive home, I could not remember how we got the second out. And I talked to Nick earlier today, and he couldn't remember how we got the second out until Keith's email came in with his 3 strikeouts. I was like, man, I remember the first one and the last one, and I had no idea how we got the second out.
Did you know that? Did you know after the third strikeout that was the third strikeout? Or you thought you had one more to go?
No. I knew we had 2 outs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got the third strikeout, and then after the game, I was like, I don't know how we got the second out. I could not remember.
You blacked out.
Just completely blacked out.
You became the Incredible Hulk. Got 3 strikeouts.
How do you when you arrive at the ballpark before the game? How do you sort of keep yourself mentally prepared for the possibility, slim as it may be, that you may get the ball at some point later in the game? Is that in your mind, or because that's not your kind of day job, if you will? So how do you kind of compartmentalize that with the defensive responsibilities at the plate, your role there with the team, and knowing that, hey, if push comes to shove, you may have to throw as well?
I usually warm up, and I can tell for the first couple of throws if I'd be able to pitch if a push comes to shove. But this definitely is not the first time on the Patriots where it's been like, hey, you got to go now. Like, there's been a couple times where it's 15 minutes of game time, and starting pitcher is not going to make it, or he's going to be late. And it's like, all right, get loose. You're going in. So it's definitely not the first time I've been handed the ball in short notice. But it's not always bad, I think. No time to think about it. Just go out there and throw a strike.
Well, we're certainly glad that that it worked out the way that it did, and kudos to you for keeping yourself ready to go and delivering with the opportunity. So back earlier in the game, I know you put a lot of pressure on yourself offensively. How'd you feel at the plate? Because you barreled up a couple balls and hit them hard, and that had to feel good.
Oh, yeah. Especially after a couple games slump that lasted what felt like forever with the rain. It was good to barrel, I think that was 5 consecutive hits with a walk in between in 6 at-bats, I guess. So, but I knew once I faced the guy that was throwing hard and I could see the seams on the ball, I knew I was hitting for sure, no doubt.
So right there, you kind of sounded like you weren't totally sure of your stats, but I think, or sort of the little mini streak that you were on. But I think if anybody knows you, you're a guy that knows your stats, and you keep pretty good track of them. Have you tallied up your final regular season stats?
Yeah, well, I've checked them, that's for sure. Sitting against the Shockers when I had no hits in 3 games, I think, I had broken into the 200 for the first time of the season, which was not a great feeling, but I ended up at 345 2 games later.
That is correct. That matches my statistical analysis as well. What offensive category are you most proud of your performance during the regular season?
I always like leading in RBIs. I have been up there a few times, and I think I've led a few times, but I feel like that's always the guys in front of me did their job, now it's time for me to do my job. And if I have the RBIs to count, I feel like I did my job pretty well.
Are you just saying that because you ended the regular season as the team leader in RBIs?
Yes. No. It's something that my average is one thing, but average of scoring position, or with runners in scoring position, is always also probably more important.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, a lot of these there are individual stats and then stats that there's some reliance on teammates setting the table as well. So
it's tough to not get that many RBIs, and you got guys like Mackenheimer hitting directly in front of you.
Hey, it's a good problem to have. So
yes.
Let's keep it rolling here for the next month. Hey, so I wanted to switch gears a little bit off the diamond because you got to participate recently in a pretty cool golf outing that the Fed Ball League put on with three of your teammates, and I wonder if you just take us through that experience and what that was like.
We had a great time. We also played ridiculously well. Everybody kind of carried their own weight. When we needed a shot, somebody made it. And I think everybody got one mulligan for the tournament, and every single mulligan that we used led directly to a drop stroke. So that was huge. Good managerial skills of the birdie calls. I don't even know who made them, but somebody said, shoot again. And it worked every time.
And so who was the foursome?
It was JD, Gregorio, Alan Knapp, and me.
And I've heard that you, I mean, to no surprise, I mean, we just talked about your hitting prowess. I heard that your forte is swinging out of your shoes.
Oh yeah.
Well, especially with the driver.
Oh yeah, it's definitely. I mean, drive for dough and putt for show, right?
I think it's the other way around. But
I hitting the golf ball as far as I can is always the main goal. I don't think when I picked up golf, I don't think I knew how to hit an iron until I could hit my driver 300 yards.
Well, there's something to be said too for being able to switch, from playing a number of baseball games in a row, then playing a round of golf, and then kind of going back and forth. I mean, some folks that can mess with their swing, but obviously, you've handled it well.
Yeah, I have like small cues. Like my golf swing, I push my lead hand back. Baseball, I start my trail hand first. It's kind of small things that kind of get me into the right swing path, I would say.
Well, whatever it is, keep doing what you're doing, and keep that baseball swing intact at least here for the next 3 or 4 weeks through our postseason run. Well, speaking of the postseason, let's shift our attention here back to the diamond. Let's look ahead to our first round opponent. It's the Gridlock. We fared pretty well against them. I want to bring Keith back into the conversation. Keith, first thoughts. We've had 24 hours now. Turn the page from the big win over the Wood Ducks, starting to look at the Gridlock and Sunday's matchup. What can you tell us about the Gridlock or even our approach to facing them this Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, no, I'll say the same thing that I've told the team. That we've had losses to the Gridlock in the past in games where we didn't think that would be the outcome. So there's going to be no thought of really taking this game lightly in any way, or certainly going through the motions or game planning to not really go with our A team or anything like that. So you're going to see the best Patriot team out there on Sunday that we can put out there, and we're gonna treat this game as if it was the finals game. The Gridlock have actually obviously had a tough year. We've had a couple of games against them that have been lopsided. We obviously had that sort of infamous game at this point where it was lopsided twice in both directions, where we were able to come way back from a big deficit and end up kind of putting the game out of reach. That was, of course, that game that had that little dust up too. So that was a pretty memorable one for this season. But certainly on it, just like we did for the first half of that game, where we fell behind them on any given Sunday, that could happen in this league. So we're going to take this game very seriously and really focus on making sure we're only going to have to play once a week during this playoff run. We don't really intend to lose. So they're going to have to come ready to play because we're going to show up on Sunday.
Also, from a player standpoint, you've been through a number of Patriots playoff runs in years past. One, I guess, how does this season feel different entering the playoffs, and secondly, what from those previous runs can you pull into this year as experience to draw on to make sure this is a deep and successful run in 2021?
I think this year feels much different because it's not which powerhouse team are we going to play in the first round. It's we're the powerhouse team that other teams are looking, we have to face the Patriots, which is a new and great feeling. I haven't been on this good of a men's league baseball team in the 12 years I've been playing. It seems in previous years it's always the team that we play well against in the regular season, and then come playoffs, just like something falls apart, like the offense or something. In my mind, it's always the Shockers. I know there's a couple of years, like the one year that I was off, the Squirrels knocked us off, but it seems the Shockers always have our number in the playoffs, and I don't think we're going to give them that chance this year.
Love it. Well, it starts this Sunday, 1:30 against the Gridlock. It's the postseason. It's intensity. The stakes are ratcheted up. It should be a lot of fun. Fans, make sure you arrive early. You've been with us all season. I think we might have had record attendance last night, so the fans certainly knew. Appreciate that support, and we hope everybody else comes out and is loud and into the game from the first pitch. It should be quite an atmosphere as the road to Povich officially gets underway this Sunday for the Patriots against the Gridlock. Gentlemen, any final thoughts to put a bow on the regular season or thoughts heading into the playoffs?
Well, from my perspective, Austin made a good point that this is kind of a new position for us heading in with one of the top seeds. But I think, the difference is that, not the difference, but the thing is that this is the first time that we're in this position, but we're also, I think, very hungry and not taking it for granted. So we know we're a really talented team, and I think everyone is really excited about that. Certainly, I have a lot of excitement about that. And, as I mentioned earlier, as Sammy and I were talking about, sort of every piece has fallen into place, and up and down the roster, we really could make this the longest TWIP podcast ever if I really could just go on and on talking about how great a contribution everybody on the roster has made, and we're going to need everybody that's on the roster up and down to contribute during this run. And I like our chances. We have a ton of depth all around the field on both sides of the ball, and I'm really excited to get started.
Let's find out just how far this Patriots team can go. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on This Week in Patriots Baseball, a podcast. Keith, as always, love the insight and perspective from the manager's office. Austin, great to have you for your first visit to the show, and certainly hope it's not the last. Thanks for stopping by.
We'll see you in the playoffs.
Let's find out.
And that was Patriots manager Keith Fischer and slugger and closer Austin Morgan. And before we sign off for the evening, I'd be remiss if we didn't mention the upcoming TWIPY Awards, debuting later this fall on This Week in Patriots Baseball, a podcast. Should be a really exciting show, a red carpet event, handing out hardware in categories such as the Proud Papa of the Year, the Dugout Guy. We may even hear from the Kangaroo Court. All that and so much more. It's the first ever TWIPIes right here on This Week in Patriots Baseball, a podcast. Visit WashingtonPatriotsBaseball.com/TWIPY for more information. That's going to do it for This Week in Patriots Baseball, a podcast. The Pats open the 2021 Fed Ball postseason this Sunday, 1:30 p.m. against the Gridlock. Should be a lot of fun. Hope to see you out there at the ballpark. For the entire This Week in Patriots Baseball, a podcast team, I am your host, Chad Kurz, for manager Keith Fischer, Austin Morgan. We'll see you Sunday afternoon. Until then, don't forget to try your best. So long, everybody.